Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Wonderful Garbage. We made it through the week. It's Friday. Yay! I hope everyone's had a good week. Hope you've had a good day wherever you are. And if your day is absolutely shit, I hope this makes it better for a little bit. Not too much going on for me this week. We got a cool front in Austin, which was like 70-degree weather. 50s in the morning, a nice chill. I immediately pulled out a chunky sweater and wore it the entire day. It was so wonderful. Don't think the cold weather's lasting though. I think it's supposed to get warm again. So, fuck that. Oh, sorry, mom. My poor mom, she listens to my episodes even though she has no idea what I'm talking about. Except for the Golden Bachelorette. She is watching that too. And she goes, oh my goodness, you say the F word a lot. And I was telling your dad, oh, Michael, listen to her. Did you hear what she said? And I was like, oops, my bad, mom. So this episode, I'm going to try my best to not cuss a lot for my mother. Don't say I never did anything for you. Also, sorry about the finger guns if you are watching on camera. I'm really trying to put them away. Okay. Other than cooler weather, nothing really has been going on. It's been a chill week, which is nice for once. But yeah, anywho, let's just get into why you're here, why you're listening. Let's get into our pop culture recap for the week. All right, we are going to start this week's pop culture recap with some very, very sad news. I'm sure you've seen it all over the internet. Liam Payne, who was a part of the big boy band in like the 2010s, was a part of One Direction. He passed away yesterday on Wednesday while he was in Argentina. It's been reported that he's passed away after falling off a balcony from the third story of the hotel that he was staying at. Like I said, Liam, he was a part of One Direction, which was formed on the show X Factor back in 2010 with Simon Cowell and Nicole Scherzinger from the Pussycat Dolls. The band was together for about 6 years. They went on a break in 2016 and then never really got back together. A lot of the guys went off and did their own thing. They had a lot of multiple number one albums, a lot of number one songs. Like they were basically like the big like NSYNC or Backstreet Boys, even like the Jonas Brothers type for all of the tween girls in the 2010s. Liam had been in Argentina for a couple weeks. He actually had met up with one of his One Direction bandmates who was doing a show, Nile. He went and got to see him perform, and so there's been a lot of videos of that, him greeting fans from the suite that he was in. There have been a lot of articles and videos that have come out addressing and just like dissecting his last couple of weeks. I saw a couple from, I think some girls saw him, I think it was in his hotel lobby, and videos of him like looking under the influence of something or maybe just wasn't feeling great that day, right? We're not going to speculate anything. But you know, everyone has a camera, everyone can record things now. So if you're in the spotlight, if anyone knows who you are, chances are you're getting filmed at some point and it's going to be posted. So yeah, there's just been a lot of videos, a lot of things posted about him. Um, Reports are coming out of like really erratic behavior in the hotel room. Actually, earlier today or the other day, there was a phone call released from the hotel desk manager that was calling for help for what was going on in the hotel room. He said there was the hotel room was being trashed, a lot of things going on, and they were calling for some medical attention, just for some help to help calm him down. There were some Snapchats that were posted too the same day that he passed Some people were thinking like maybe they had scheduled some Snapchat videos to be posted because in a couple of the videos, his girlfriend was in the videos and she had already left Argentina a couple days before. So, not really sure when the videos were taken that were posted. Again, people are thinking that they were scheduled to be posted at a certain time. There were some articles when I was, doing some research and just like learning a little bit more about him. Just some articles from a couple years ago where he did some interviews that said that he definitely struggled with alcohol, talked about having a hard time finding that balance of moderation. And, we don't know what he was going through. He did say he has mental health struggles. Like regardless of what someone does for a living, those should definitely be taken seriously. We've seen that with a lot of artists, with a lot of people in the spotlight. A tale as old as time, right? They are thrusted into this thing, especially when they're young. These guys who were a part of One Direction were teenagers and then became huge global sensations. And with that comes a lot of pressure, a lot of eyes on you. You can't just walk down the street anymore, right? You're going to be followed by people, paparazzi everywhere. So who knows what was going on? I have seen some pictures, I'm sure you guys saw it too, of the hotel room, broken TVs, just trashed, things all over the place. So, um, just hoping that, if he was suffering with something that he, is now free from that and praying for his family. He has a young son, and that's just really, really difficult. TMZ did report on this when it happened, and they actually posted pictures of a couple of his body parts, like out on the pavement. I think they posted like a picture of his arm and like part of his stomach, I believe, and there wasn't any blood or any like injuries that we could see from the pictures, but my God, like how just like disgusting do you have to be to post somebody's, and it wasn't like a full dead body, but like just some anything related to that, right? Like we don't need to see that for the privacy of his family, the privacy of his son, for him. That's just, it was disgusting. So a lot of people are giving TMZ flack for that because that wasn't really necessary. So they pulled out the article. The pictures aren't online anymore, but if you saw them, I saw them. It was rough to just think that like he's there and then they're exploiting where he's at and what happened. So, just, praying for everyone who was fans, the family, just everything. It's really, really rough. I don't know. Like, what do you say when someone like dies, right? Like, I always hate saying like sorry for your loss as if like I had something to do with your loss or, like how do you share your condolences with somebody and not be like them be annoyed with you or just like saying something that sounds cringe. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I always feel weird saying like sorry for your loss as if like I said, like because typically when you're telling somebody sorry, it's because of something you did. And I'm probably just like reading way more into the literal meaning of sorry. Let's find like another phrase to say when somebody passes. Okay, let's talk about some dumb shit. Are you ready? There was a video going around earlier this week of Selma Hayek and Nicole Kidman at a Balenciaga show, which I guess they're just uncanceled Balenciaga. Like, we're cool with all the weird stuff that they were doing in their photo shoots, remember? I don't know, it's just ugh, like cool. Everyone's wearing Balenciaga again and going to their fashion shows, whatever. So there was this video going around TikTok that like Selma and Nicole are surrounded by a bunch of paparazzi And Katy Perry was there with them too. And it looks like Selma's trying to get them to all be standing in like together for a picture together, but she like wanted Nicole Kidman to turn around to get to like certain cameras or whatever. And Selma kind of puts her hands on Nicole's shoulders to kind of turn her, and Nicole's like, "No, like I'm good, I'm okay, like this is enough," as if like we've already gotten enough pictures, like we're good, I don't need to go and pose for more. Some people are thinking it was really rude. Some people were thinking Nicole was like mad at Selma for putting her hands on her and like trying to get her to take all these pictures. When I first saw the video, I was like, okay, I could see how someone would be like, Nicole does look a little annoyed, but also like, who wouldn't be? There's all these cameras, lights flashing on you, and like they're used to it, right? They're actresses, they've been in the business forever. But I'm sure it still gets really annoying just to have like everybody surrounding you, eyes on you all the time. Plus, this was Nicole Kidman's first outing since her mother passed last month. So I'm sure, she's just like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to get through it. But like, I want to go back home. Leave me alone. They seemed okay the rest of the show. There's a bunch of pictures of them sitting front row together. So I don't know. People are reaching at shit, pitting women against each other. I don't know. But at first it did kind of look like Nicole was a little annoyed. I would be annoyed too, like I said, though. Also, did you know that Selma Hayek's husband is like rich, rich, rich? He owns, or no, he's the president and CEO of the Kering Group, which owns a bunch of luxury brands like Balenciaga, Gucci, YSL, Alexander McQueen. So, like, they're rich, rich, rich. But yeah, that's about it. I don't want to say that they like were mad at each other or anything. Nicole was just probably annoyed. And that's okay. Let women be annoyed at shit. Let everyone be annoyed at shit. There's a lot going on. We deserve to be annoyed. Whatever. Oh, okay, let's get into a conspiracy theory. I love this. Kristin Cavallari thinks that Kanye West and Britney Spears are clones. Did y'all see that? On Kristin's Let's Be Honest podcast. She said she's a conspiracy theorist and her favorite conspiracy is about Kanye West. She totally thinks he's a clone. She's like, look, he used to talk a lot. He used to say whatever was on his mind, didn't give a crap what he said, who he was saying it about. And Kristin's like, the Illuminati probably didn't like that, you know? And she was saying that Kanye at one point had said, if I go away and I come back and I look different or I'm acting different, it's not me. And so she's like, compare old photos of him. He looks totally different. Which I love. Like, what if he is a clone? That would be crazy. But also, do y'all remember when I think it was like his ex-assistant came out and said he was addicted to uh, nitrous gas? Yeah. So I went down a Reddit rabbit hole about that. Because I was like, oh, well, maybe like the nitrous is making him, like, altered his brain. Or he's just in a fog all the time, so he's not talking as much. He's not as vocal as he used to be. So, like I said, I went down a rabbit hole on Reddit about nitrous gas. Some people are saying it's not addictive. Some people say it is. Shocker. Some people say it's used for sleep apnea. So maybe he just doesn't sleep good and uses it for that. Then I saw a thread that someone talked to their dentist about it because apparently Kanye's ex-assistant was saying, and maybe it's not assistant, maybe it's an ex-manager, someone in his camp, an ex-camper of Kanye, an ex-Kanye camper said that they were getting dentist regulated nitrous from Kanye's dentist, and they would like be texting the dentist a bunch. Kanye would text him a bunch, like asking for gas. Where is it at? He always needed more. Okay, so I found this other thread that said they had talked to their dentist about it, and the dentist had said if it's nitrous or dentist grade nitrous, it's gonna have some form of oxygen in it that lessens some of the side effects that you would get if it was just like regular nitrous gas or like doing whippets essentially, that it's not gonna destroy your brain cells the way it would if it was just like nitrous off the street or whatever. But yeah, so some people are saying, like, well, what if the nitrous changed him? But again, if it's the dentist grade, then he should be okay. Also, this is now a scientific podcast. You're welcome. But also, wouldn't it be cool if he was a clone? And what if there are clones around us? Honestly, it's one of the reasons I haven't done 23andMe yet. Like, I really want to know my history. I think that's super cool. I want to know if, like, I'm a princess of something or a duchess of something. Or if I have, like, a bunch of family members I don't know anything about. I really want to do 23andMe, but I'm terrified that my DNA is going to be used for clones. And then what if there's another me? The world does not need another me. No, no, no. So yeah, what do y'all think about clones? And that's when I just lost a bunch of people listening. But also there's benefits of clones, I would think. Like you could trade off working, cleaning, cooking. I'm going to send my clone out to a friend dinner, go be social. I'm going to be horizontal in my bed, binging some trash TV, or just taking a really good nap. Maybe we are for clones. I don't know. Thumbs up, thumbs down if you're into clones. Do y'all think Kanye's a clone? Has he been silenced and replaced? I think it's a case for Olivia Benson. Or Monk. Right? Those are the only two detectives I could think of. Okay, more conspiracy theories next week, if y'all are into it. But anywho, I just think Kanye was like, I don't know, maybe they like gave him a bunch of other kinds of drugs. And he's just chilled. He's vibing. He's walking around with his wife in Tokyo going shopping, buying cars, not making any more music. R.I.P. good Kanye music, though, you know, back in the day. Anywho, Fat Joe's on Ozempic. I'm a Fat Joe fan. I'm a 90s girly, so I grew up listening to like 2000s rap, hip hop, the best. Well, like 90s rap and hip hop was really good too, and R&B and shit like that. So I love Fat Joe. Fat Joe has lost 200 pounds though. So in an article with People and Us Weekly, he said he's really been focusing on his weight loss for a long time. Ever since his friend and fellow rapper Big Pun died back in 2000 from a heart attack. He said their daughters are the same age, and so like back then when he went to the funeral, just like seeing his daughter being so distraught, and like it reminded him of like his daughter, and what if the same thing happened to him? So he had a wake up call, just like I really need to take care of myself. So he's been on this journey for a minute, has lost 200 pounds, maintained, is keeping it off. He says he's just doesn't eat a lot of carbs. He said when Ozempic came out, he got on that just to help regulate what he's eating, help him not feel as hungry, and to just help him keep off the weight. And the question I know you're all wondering is, if Fat Joe is no longer fat, Will he still continue to call himself Fat Joe? Ding, ding, ding. Yes, he will. He says his wife loves the name. He's never going to change it. She loves him being a big boy, misses him as a big boy. So, an ode to his wife, he is staying Fat Joe. You're welcome for that news. He was at the VMAs this year, and it was so good to see him. He was up there with DJ Khaled and Anita, and he's just fun. And I feel like he's been unproblematic. I really hope his name doesn't come out in any of these Diddy things. But also, I read that a lot of people have been settling quietly in all the Diddy stuff. So it's like, are we really gonna get the names of people who are also involved in everything that's come out? Or because these people are also hella rich, they're just paying off people left and right, and then their names never have to come out. Also, just real quick with the Diddy stuff, I haven't talked about it because it's traumatizing. But I'm just wondering, because like I love J-Lo and I love Beyonce. And I know there's so many things about Beyonce being like in the Illuminati and whatever. No. I'm just wondering, like, were there levels to these parties, right? Maybe out in front, or like in the backyard, or like in the main gathering area. People were partying at like a G level, GPG. It wasn't nothing. Drinking, having fun. And then all of these other things that are going on were like way, way, way in the back, in the house, in a basement, underground. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe not everyone who was at a Diddy party was involved in the disgusting, nasty, horrible things that are coming out about him. Obviously, like a lot of people close to him were involved. I think there's like assistants coming out and saying stuff. And so, like, obviously, yeah, that. But I'm wondering if just like a Joe Schmo who was there was like really at the same level as everybody else who was really doing these horrible acts, you know? What do y'all, I don't know. I feel like JLo would never put herself in that situation. And same thing with Beyonce. And Beyonce was like 19 when she got together with Jay-Z, and he was in his like mid to late 20s. I feel like I want them separated from it. I don't want them in it. Let me live in my delusion because I cannot have, it would just be soul crushing. Again, I think I've said on the podcast before, just like everyone that I listened to back in the day, with the exception of Fat Joe, seems to be problematic, and it's just a lot of fuckery. Okay, let's talk about something else that's problematic. Victoria's Secret. So the Victoria's Secret fashion show aired this week on Amazon Prime. It hasn't been on since 2018. I didn't realize it was that long, but also I never really watched it because they never have anyone who looks like me. Never anyone with some childbearing hips, some thighs for days, and an ass that don't quit. Hey, I know that's right. My mom was probably like, yeah, she got it from her mama. Anywho, yeah, like talk about a thing that just like makes you feel bad about yourself because you're not a stick figure. Is that anybody else or is it just me? But yeah, I mean, it was canceled back in 2018. They had a low viewership, like barely anybody watched. And then they were just criticized, right, for being outdated and sexist and just a total lack of body diversity. This year, they brought back Gigi Hadid, Adriana Lima, who had retired in that 2018 show. They brought her back. And then Tyra Banks closed it out, which was awesome. So we're thinking, okay, you had 6 years to get your shit together, Victoria's Secret. You're doing research. I think there's like even a new president or CEO, or they like brought people in to help them rebrand. Back in 2021, they said they were going to move away from their iconic angels to more activist ambassadors and to focus on what women want more than what men want. I know we did a PSA last week here on the podcast about not trusting grown men who become DJs like later in their life. I have another PSA, and this is just really for Victoria's Secret. Women don't want floss up their ass. Write that one down. Oh, I did another finger gun. I'm so sorry. I don't want floss up my butt. Maybe some of you do, but no thank you. Well, maybe sometimes. That's probably TMI. And if this is your first time listening, please come back. Okay, Victoria's Secret also posted a video back in 2022 with clips from old shows saying that everyone is accepted no matter what you look like, really trying to rebrand, really trying to showcase that anyone can be on this runway. So we're thinking, we're in 2024. Lots more inclusivity. Let's go. What do y'all think happened? I watched some of it. I didn't watch all of it. I watched it a day later so I could just like scroll and kind of fast forward through some stuff. It wasn't really that exciting, and there was barely any body diversity. I think I saw two, maybe three plus size models. Ashley Graham, I love her so much. Girlie popped out 3 boys in back-to-back years. She's an icon. I love her. She's a champion for body diversity in everything that she does. And then Paloma Lesser, she was the other plus size representation. There was one more and I didn't get her name. Cher performed, which was iconic. We love Cher. I think Lisa from that girl group Blackpink performed and Tyla performed. Tyra Banks closed out the show, like I said, so that was great. She did like a 10-15 second walk, and then the other angels joined behind her. I went and did a little digging. I found a BuzzFeed article because I just wanted to see what people were saying about it. I saw some things on Instagram, just like, wow, what a disappointment. But I did find a BuzzFeed article, and they said that they found that most of the things that were actually worn in the show aren't available in any quote unquote plus women's sizes, which essentially are like average women's sizes now. Like you couldn't find anything for a size 16 to 20 in any of the things that the girls were wearing in the show. They couldn't even find the bodysuit that Ashley Graham wore in an inclusive size. So, like, how are you going to say you're all about body diversity when you barely include anything in your show? And then the styles that you're promoting aren't even available either. Like, what are we doing here? Also, some of the stuff that was shown, like some tank tops and like PJ pants, which I guess is different, right? Because before it had just been like the tiniest underwear and bra possible. Well, tiniest underwear, but biggest push-up bra possible. I hate to say this, but like, are we surprised? I feel like there's just a lot of companies who rolled out all these initiatives back in the day, right? Like 2020 was a year of like Black Lives Matter and all this inclusivity, and all these companies were feeling the pressure to create more inclusive spaces and bringing in more customers because people were kind of realizing like the same shit that you were doing 20 years ago was wrong and like isn't gonna fly now. And I feel like a lot of these companies are now rolling back on all these initiatives, or these colleges are rolling back certain things that they said that they were going to change and be a part of now. And I feel like Victoria's Secret's doing the same thing. A couple years ago, they were just saying they're all about body positivity and inclusivity, yet we're not seeing it, right? So your actions are going to speak louder than your words here. And I don't think viewership was that great for the show anyway. So I don't know if they'll be back for another show next year, if we even need this shit, if you're not going to give us what your consumers are asking for. Also, there's just a lot of other lingerie brands now that are more inclusive. So back in the day, they were like the top lingerie brand. You wanted to go get that little pink bag, and oh, that angel perfume. What was that? The purple one. It wasn't called Angel Dust though. It was like, oh my goodness, I can't remember what it was called. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Secret Angel. Oh my goodness. That stuff smelled good back in the day. But yeah, I don't know. Womp womp. What a flop. Do better. But it was good to see Ashley Graham. I love her. Ooh, did y'all hear the thing about Nick Jonas at their Jonas Brothers concert in Prague? They were performing a show. All of a sudden, Nick sees this red, like, beam on him, like a laser, and he immediately runs off the stage mid-song and is doing, like, the T motion for, like, time out. Immediately gets off the stage. Got this from Variety. They said the show was paused for a little bit, tried to figure out what was going on, where the laser came from. Show resumed. Somebody was able to sneak in a laser. Good job, security. I wonder what it looked like. Maybe they stuck it in like a fake tampon or something. I don't know. People don't check tampons. But also remember when artists were getting things thrown at them by psycho fans? BB Rexa had a phone thrown at her at a concert and she got a black eye. And I think she even had to get stitches. How wild is that? Drake had a phone thrown at him. Ava Max was slapped by a fan who was able to get on stage somehow. This was a wild one. Somebody threw their ashes at Pink or not their ashes. That would be, they're a clone. No, I'm just kidding. Somebody threw their mother's ashes at Pink while she was performing. And I really hope like the bag didn't break and all the ashes just like get on Pink. Because have you seen that? I know this happens on like Housewives. Most recently, Sutton on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She wanted to spread her friend's ashes. I don't think they were in Italy, but I'm just going to say Italy. They were somewhere. Correct me, please. They were somewhere. She wanted to go spread her friend's ashes. She took the girls with the other housewives with her. Sutton is standing on the edge of this ledge out into the ocean. And she wants to spread his ashes in the ocean. And the other housewives are standing behind her, a little bit back. She releases his ashes, and then a gust of wind comes. And they like get on Garcelle, one of her friends, one of the other housewives. It's so funny. So I just really hope that whoever threw their mom's ashes at Pink was in like a double sealed Ziploc bag wrapped in some tissue paper and bubble wrap. Like, I hope that shit was secure and not just tossed in a baggie out into the wild, you know? Cardi B, at one of her shows, somebody threw a drink at her, and then she threw a mic at them. Hell yeah, you're gonna fuck with me, I'm gonna fuck with you right back. Sorry, mom, about the F-bombs, but they were appropriate in that situation. You're gonna mess with me, I'm gonna mess with you right back. If you know, you know. Okay, I want to talk about a couple things I watched this week, and then we'll move over to our Bravo Celebrity breakdown. I haven't talked about this as much on the podcast, but I've been keeping up with Tell Me Lies. I love it. It's on Hulu. If you're not watching, it is toxic in the best way possible. It's essentially almost like Vanderpump Rules scripted if they all went to college. If they all weren't just degenerates who worked at a LA restaurant hoping to become actors and singers. It's literally Vanderpump in college. The finale was this week, and wow. First off, we only had 8 episodes this season, which is a crime in itself. In the episode before the finale, we find out why Lucy's high school best friend absolutely hates her guts. Something happened with her best friend's brother and Lucy. So we learn about that, which was crazy. So it turns out the professors have an open marriage. Bree goes to class with the professor wife, and the wife is wearing Bree's earrings that she left in the pants of the husband. Bree immediately gets out of class once it's over, calls the guy and is like, "We need to talk." They hang out. They end up having sex again. Wife comes home. Bree is freaking out. You're like, "Oh my goodness, what's going on? What's going on?" Wife comes into the room and sees Bree, and she's like, "Look, it's okay. Where's my husband? He's in the shower. Okay, one moment." They come out together. She's like, "He needs to talk to you." And Bree's like, "What is happening?" He goes on to say they have an open relationship. The wife's been aware that Bree and him have been hooking up, and Bree has been taking her class the entire semester. Sleeping with the husband, professor knows what's going on. What? Bree's like, she can't leave him. Like, she loves him. She is obsessed with him. Bree's like, this is the meanest thing that has ever happened to me. And he says, "I doubt it, given your history." I was like, "Oh, let me punch this man through the TV." Oh my goodness. Bree is distraught. She is upset. She cannot believe what she put herself in. She put herself in this situation. He did prey on her, I think, too. It was messy. It was fucked up. Uh, Bree's leaving the house, and the wife's like, "Hold on, wait. I just need to let you know, yes, we have an open relationship. You haven't been the first girl in this thing." And Bree's like, "Well, he told me he loves me." And the look on the wife's face is like she looks pissed. And it almost seems like she doesn't want to have an open relationship either, but just, well, you gonna deal with a cheating husband, or you guys are gonna be good just having an open relationship together? I don't know. It's wild. Um, there's another scene in the finale where, okay, so Lucy was with Steven in college. They're hella toxic, should not be together, literally the worst people on the planet for each other. Steven goes back to Diana, who's his on again, off again girlfriend. Steven is really just using Diana for her dad's law connections because Steven and Diana both want to be lawyers. Diana's dad's a lawyer, so he's totally using her for that. Lucy gets with this new guy, Leo, who Steven had cheated. Leo's girlfriend cheated on him with Steven, so there's bad blood there. They get into some stuff at a holiday party, holiday frat party, and Leo unleashes on him. He is on top of him, punching the living crap out of this guy, and Steven's just laying there. It ends, and Steven's smiling. His entire face is bloody. It's bad. And I was thinking, Lucy sees this and she goes and runs to Steven. A couple guys get Leo off of him, and then she's aiding to him. And then Steven smiles like when he's on the ground. And you're just like, did Steven not fight back because he's trying to manipulate Lucy into leaving Leo and choosing Steven because they want to get back with each other because they're so toxic? I don't know. Diana comes to her senses and drops Steven, but makes him break up with her. Like, she set up all these things. She pretended like she got bad LSAT scores and wasn't gonna go to law school. And then she pretended like her dad cut her off financially for getting bad LSAT scores. And then uh, we see a clip where she's getting interviewed by an admissions professor, or like a counselor, I think, and they're like, "You have great LSAT scores. You are definitely going to be able to get into Yale early admissions." And you're like, "What? Diana played him." Then we get another clip. Diana calls her bank to say that she put her credit card on hold, but she found it, so she wants to release the hold. And you're like, damn! She totally manipulated Steven into thinking her life wasn't going anywhere. So Steven, an opportunist, narcissist psycho, is like, I need to find the next person that I can take advantage of. I can't do it with Diana anymore because her dad cut her off and she's not going to law school. So then Steven ends up breaking up with Diana, and that's what Diana wanted the whole time. Diana's dad comes and picks her up, and she's like, thanks, Dad. And he's like, how did Steven take the breakup? And Diana's like, everything was fine. Like, I had to make it seem like it was his idea. I was like, oh, Team Diana. And I would not have said that last season. Last season, not Team Diana whatsoever. But this season, hell yeah. Then we get something else at the end of the episode. Oh no. So Evan, who's marrying Bree, him and Lucy slept together. A very, very drunken night at the end of season 1. Evan doesn't tell Bree who he cheated with, but just told Bree, hey, I slept with somebody else, and that's why they break up. Steven finds this out and thinks about it for a little bit. And then he tells Evan, clean slate, we're good. Yes, you slept with my ex. We're fine, whatever. And Evan's like, are you serious? Like, you're actually good? Like, you're a psychopath. But, like, you're good with this? You're not going to beat me up? You're not going to, like, do anything to me? He goes, no, we're good. So you're like, what does Steven have planned? Turns out Steven recorded his conversation with Evan talking about him cheating on Bree with Lucy. And then we flash forward to the wedding. And Steven sends Bree the voice recording from literally 10 years ago. And I'm like, technically, how could he have saved this voice note? Because Steven has to have had at least 4 phones in 10 years, right? We all get a new phone every couple of years, more than likely. Maybe he's at least had 2 phones. We'll give him that. But, like, how do you keep that voice recording from 10 years ago and then you share it right before she's about to walk down the aisle? So Bree hears it, and then Lucy, who's in the wedding because they were best friends in college, comes and gives her a hug. She's like, you ready to walk down the aisle? And Bree is just like staring into the mirror, and you're like, oh. And that's where the episode ends. What the freak? I need 10 more episodes. Also, I know this show is based on a book, so I should probably just read it. I don't want to. No, I really do want to, actually. Maybe I will read it. It's just such a good show. I hope I didn't ruin that for you if you really wanted to watch it. Let's talk about the Golden Bachelorette. This episode hurt me. I thought last episode hurt me when our beloved Charles and Gary got sent home. I love those men so much. This episode made me mad. I'm not sure what Joan's doing. I think Joan, our Golden Bachelorette, is spiraling a little bit. I think it's a lot for her to really, really think about being with somebody else and spending the rest of her life with somebody else. because her husband has passed. It's been 3 years. So it's been some time, but it really hasn't been, who knows? Everyone grieves and heals in their own way, right? I just think Joan is spiraling and she made some bad decisions in this episode. Let's get into it. Joan meets up with Trista. Poor Trista. I feel like Trista's been on all kinds of these bachelors, bachelorettes, because she was the first one and is like one of the most successful ones. Her and Ryan are still married, even though they did have some weird stuff on Instagram over the summer. Like, Ryan had posted something that made it seem like him and Trista were getting divorced, or like there were things going on. And then she posted, I think, like, I don't know, maybe she like went away and just took like a week off of family time or something. Maybe she went to a spa. I don't know. But it was very coded and you're like, what's happening? But Trista and Ryan are still together. Trista says that she wishes she would have been more vulnerable. I don't know what's wrong with my words today. I barely talked today. Saving my voice for this recording. Okay, anywho. She wishes she would have been more vulnerable during the experience. Joan says she just really loves being married and being in a couple and having a partner, but learning how to love somebody else when she's still mourning her husband is really, really rough. And I talked with my mom about this last night on my way home from the Dainty Dillo, because we went last night to watch the show. And my mom thinks that Joan's not going to end up with anybody, which would really make me mad. But also, like, you do you. We're not going to force you into anything. I don't know. Maybe the experience was just way more than she thought it was going to be. And it's all like hitting her at once. She's just like, it's hard to give my heart to somebody when it's not 100% theirs to take, because John is still my heart. And you're like, oh, this is rough. So we have one group date this episode and 2 one-on-ones. Keith, my fave now, since Charles is gone, and my front runner, he gets one of the one-on-ones, and then Mark, Zaddy Mark, he gets the other one-on-one date. Mark hasn't had a one-on-one date. All of the other guys have, so he was really nervous about not getting one, but he gets one, so he's excited. So the guys who are going on the group date are Chalk, Jonathan, Jordan, and Guy. Keith and Joan take a helicopter to a winery. They do a wine tasting. They're talking on like this beautiful bench. They have a little meat and cheese board, of course. Joan's like, I like Keith. I think he has more depth, but I haven't seen it yet. It's like, ouch. Also, Keith has been open. Keith has been talking about being a single dad and raising his 3 daughters because his wife is an addict and it wasn't safe. And so he had to do what was best for his daughters and remove them from that situation. Hurtful and not ideal, of course, but he said he had to do what he had to do. So like, we hear him talking about it, so I don't know what Joan means by that. They're talking, things seem to be going good. Keith saying, like, talking to her about how she feels about honoring her husband, still going through this journey, that he's had a lot of heartbreak. She has as well. It's different kind of heartbreak, but they can at least bond over that. And that he's aware that he uses humor to mask a lot of the pain he has. So maybe that's what Joan means by not being, that he doesn't have depth to him because he's just cracks jokes all the time. I don't know. Joan's like, you did raise 3 daughters, so I know there's a really soft side to you, and that's just a lot to take on. Joan says that they have a really good rapport, and she thinks about what a hometown would be like with him. Because next week are hometowns. This episode, she goes down to her final four guys. Then it's hometowns. Then I think it's like the suites. And then it's proposal time. So we only have a couple episodes left, y'all. Okay, I also liked Chalk, but he's getting very possessive. And it's a huge ick. We get the guys back at the mansion, and Chalk is like, I'm getting annoyed with her going on other dates with men and not getting all of her attention. Like, yes, you're here on a dating show. Just because you think you have a connection with her doesn't mean she's not going to go and explore everything else. That's literally the point of the show. Grow up. So Mark is talking with a couple of the guys about back at the mansion while Keith and Joan are on a date. He's like, I feel like I do have a connection to Joan, but he's really, really struggling. Same kind of thing with Joan, really struggling being with somebody else after losing his wife. He lost his wife to stage 4 cancer about 6.5 years ago. And he says when she was alive, hummingbirds would be like drawn to her. She could just put out her hand if there were hummingbirds around, and hummingbirds would like land on her, and they thought it was like a very peaceful, genuine thing. So he talks about he was at the mansion, he was outside, and he saw a hummingbird, and so he was like, oh, that's my wife. My wife is here telling me that this is okay, that this is where I'm supposed to be. But you can tell he's still really, really going through the grief still, right? Everyone, like I said, grieves differently. And he, I think, is really, really struggling. And we're really seeing that in this episode. So now it's group date time. They're going to go bowling, which I love. I took bowling in college. Oh, yeah. I still suck at it. I always break a nail. I always break one of my thumbnails. And it just breaks a little bit on the side. So now I feel like I need to wear gloves when I bowl. I don't bowl that often because my nails do break, and that's really sad. But yeah, no, I took it in college because I needed an elective, and you had to drive off campus to go to this little dingy bowling alley that we had, and it was fun. I also broke my leg really, really, really bad during that year of bowling. Like, I couldn't drive. It was messed up. My bowling instructor still made me drive to campus to take my bowling final, even though I couldn't bowl. Like, I couldn't stand. I had surgery like 2 or 3 weeks prior, and my mom had to drive me to college so I could take my bowling exam. And then she had to drive me for my other exams because they wouldn't let me take them remote. This was before anything was remote. Uh, so yeah, a little bit about me. I took bowling. I still suck at it. Guys like one of the guys who's named Guy, the ER doctor. He's like, man, I'm still banged up from our kickball game that we had. Because I'm not sure how I'm gonna do because I have bad knees. I tweaked my shoulder. This is not gonna be good. I love it. So they all have bowling shirts that they have to wear, and our resident high maintenance guy, Pascal, is like, I don't want to wear this. He goes, it's not Gucci, it's not Prada. I don't want to be about this. So they're all taking turns bowling. They're having fun. Chalk, though, literally is being so protective of Joan. He's sitting right next to her. The other guys, like, feel like they can't come up and talk to her, but also like elbow Chuck and move him out of the way and sit by your woman, you know? But it is getting kind of weird. Like, he is being like really protective, really, really close to her, not leaving her alone. At one point, he asks her, like, hey, which side of the bed do you sleep on? And you're like, ew. Immediate ick. And she's like, oh yeah. And they like talk about it and stuff. And like he's talking about all kinds of stuff, and you're just like, you can see it in his eyes. He has like protective intense eyes. And his mom did just die like a week ago while they were filming this. I am sure the emotions that he is going through are a lot. Maybe that's playing into it, but he is very possessive in this episode. Not cute at all. Joan goes up to Bull and Guy's like, hey, Chalk, like, move. Like, we all need to be able to talk to Joan. And Chalk is not receptive. He's just staring at Guy, like, in his head, he's probably like, you annoying little man. Like, I want Joan all to myself. But it is not cute. It's really repulsive, actually. So they all have little talks with Joan after bowling. One of the guys, Jonathan, brought pictures of his family and is showing Joan like his mom's old driver's licenses, which maybe those are the only pictures he has of his mom. I was like, that's a kind of weird thing to bring. But he's talking to Joan and all I can look at are his teeth. I don't know if he got new teeth. Oh, that was Guy. Sorry. Jonathan has great teeth, but Guy, I don't know if he got veneers while he's been in the Bachelorette mansion. He's gotten something. His teeth are white. Anyways, that's all I could really share out. Okay, then we have Mark and Joan's date. They have a date on a yacht. And Mark seems just way more impressed with the yacht than he does with being on a date with Joan. They get on the boat and they're not really talking a lot. Joan's like, I'm cold. I should like drink more champagne and get like champagne warm. And Mark's like, okay. And they're just sitting there like looking at the ocean. It's beautiful, beautiful view, beautiful ride. But Mark isn't initiating anything. He's not initiating conversation. So him and Joan are just kind of sitting there. And then one of the boat deck people are like, hey, you guys have an envelope. They learned they're going to do a scavenger hunt on the boat. So maybe they were just waiting for a card from the producers and that's why they weren't talking a lot. Like maybe they were told like, hey, sit down here. We're going to bring something out to you. And then they just made it seem like it was a lot of awkwardness. I don't know. Mark has a little confessional and he goes, it does take me a while to warm up. So I think that's what's going on here. But it's like, dude, if you really want to be here, and maybe he did it, maybe he didn't want to be here, I don't know. If you really wanted to be here and you're really interested, you do have to take the initiative. You have to get out of that comfort zone if you want this to work. So the first little scavenger hunt game is message in a bottle. They do, it's a never have I ever. So Joan's like, never have I seen the Northern Lights. I was like, ooh, that's a good one. And Mark, never have I ever woken up in the middle of the night to feed a baby. And you're like, that's the best you can think of? You think that's something you want to share? Like, I have kids, but I've never once gotten up to feed a baby in the middle of the night. Like, dude, find something else to say. This is not making you look good. Then the next one is, would you rather tell someone you love them first or be told first? Mark says he would rather go second, of course. And Joan's like, I've never said I love you first. Like, I've always been told I love you first. So Joan's like, well, that's going to be an issue. Again, Mark, like, I love your honesty. But, again, you need to be taking some sort of initiative. Or just say, like, I typically say it second, or like, I would want to be told second. Or say it's something that I'm working on because I'm learning how to be more emotionally vulnerable. You know? Mark, by the way, Mark thinks this is going great. And you're like, oh, I don't know. Maybe we're getting a really weird edited version. But it's not going great. So they sit, they talk about their futures. Joan says in 5 years she knows she will be with somebody. Joan knows that she will be living a life with somebody. It's like, well, girl, you're on a show, and in about a couple of weeks you're gonna have to decide, you know? Mark says in 5 years he is going to have a flourishing life. That this experiment, being on the show, has given him the self-confidence to continue. And they talk about understanding what it's like to lose a spouse, and it's good to have somebody to talk to when you're ready. Mark does not want to talk about this at all. And he's like, yeah, it's good. You know, like, you don't always have to talk about it. Sometimes you don't have to talk about those things. Sometimes you just do it like when you're ready. And it's like, yes, we're not forcing you to have that conversation, but you can't be closed off in a relationship, you know? Joan's like, it's really nice that you have other guys to talk to here while you're going through this experience. She goes, but I have nobody to talk to, which I think is really weighing on her. And I feel bad because she doesn't have family or a confidant or anyone there. She probably has a couple of producers to talk to, but they're also producing a show, you know? So she feels like she doesn't have anybody to really talk with how this is all going, and I think it's hard for her. He tells her, he's like, do you believe in signs from your partner? And she says yes. So he talks about the hummingbird thing, but this time on a trip to Mexico. He went with his family after his wife died. There was a hummingbird that wouldn't leave their tour bus. Like, it stayed on the bus the entire time. And now that he saw one at the mansion, he's like, it's my wife. She is here. So he's spiraling, thinking like if he should be doing this. He goes, yes, but I do feel like I should be doing this, but I feel like he's trying to convince himself of it. Like, if I say it out loud enough, it will be true. It'll be how I feel, you know? And it's not working well for him. Their date ends, and Joan's like, you know, it was nice to talk to him, but there is something missing there. She's not sure what. So the next day at the mansion, it is rose ceremony time. So Joan gets there a little early, and she wants to talk to Mark. And the other guys are like, ooh, what's going on? Like, they just had their one-on-one date yesterday. If she wants to talk to him again, what's happening? You know, and so the guys are like, Chalk's like, what's happening? She says, look, I really wanted this to work, but I don't think it's meant to be. I enjoyed our date. I enjoyed talking about our spouses, but there is something missing here. She said, the whole time yesterday on our date, you talked about your experience, how you're feeling, how this is giving you the confidence to grow, but there was no me in it. There was no we in this conversation. And good for you, Joan. If you're not feeling like he is opening that space up to grow with somebody else, then yeah, it's a waste of time. So she says she doesn't think he's as far along in his healing and grief journey as her. But she also talks about her ex-husband, or her late husband, all the time too. So I feel like she should give him a little grace with that at least, because she is still struggling just like him, just like some of the other guys on the show too. So he doesn't even try to fight with Joan about this. He's not like, I'm so sorry, give me another chance and I will show you. Like, let's have this conversation now, right? He doesn't do any of that. He agrees with her, and he goes home early before the rose ceremony. And you're like, dang, this is crazy. Some people online think he's going to be the next Golden Bachelor. Who knows? I don't know. Want to hear something crazy? If you follow me on TikTok, I did a little story about it last night. But also I hate that I just like plugged my TikTok. Well, go follow it, please. Last night I went to Dainty Dillo with a couple friends. Shout out Stacy and Caroline. Weather was perfect. We had perfect seats. It was awesome. Espresso martinis were delicious. We're watching this with a bunch of other people who also have opinions, right? So during the Mark and Joan date, some of us were like, "What are you doing, Mark? Like, talk to her. Like, this isn't going good." And then when he said the thing about never waking up in the middle of the night to change a diaper, some people were like, "What? Like, you're not a good dad. That's not a good husband." Like, right? Whatever. It's reality TV night. We're going to share our opinions. So Dainty Dillo does this thing where they have a like chalkboard and they put everybody's pictures, all the contestants' pictures up on it. And every week, whoever gets eliminated, who doesn't get a rose, they rip their pictures off the wall. They're no longer on our Golden Bachelorette board. So when Keith got, or not Keith, when Mark got, when Mark left early, one of the bartenders he runs up and he rips off Keith. My bad. He rips off Mark's picture. And then he goes and gives it to this woman who's sitting kind of like right on the other side of us. We like looked at her and we're like, "How'd you get this picture?" She goes, "Mark's my dad." And we all went, we all looked at each other, and even the people sitting behind us, because there were some vocal people behind us too. The guy sitting behind us was like, he goes, "We were just talking mess about her dad." And then she starts crying. And we were like, "What do we do? Do we say sorry? Do we ask her for a selfie?" It was just, it was weird. Just like her being there and like watching her dad. I guess she didn't know how it was going to be edited. I'm assuming she knew he wasn't with her. But yeah, I guess she just didn't know how the editing was going to go and how he was going to be portrayed on TV. And then just seeing him, right? Like seeing your dad on TV struggling with the grief of losing his wife, her mom, and you're just like, "Oh my goodness." So we were just like, we didn't say anything to her, we just left. But if you're listening, we're sorry, and we hope your dad is doing really well, because he's really hot. Oh, so he goes in to tell the guys that he's leaving, and the guys are crying. Oh, the way I love this show, y'all. I say it every week, and I'm going to keep saying it until the end. I love it. I love it for the kindness of these men, except for Chalk. No, but Guy and Jonathan Pascal are crying. Pascal's like, "Mark was my best friend here," and he's like, "I don't know what to do without him," and I love them so much. Okay, it's rose ceremony time, and I am heartbroken. I'm so heartbroken, you don't even understand. Like I said last week, Charles and Gary got sent home. I don't even want to say it. Keith, my number one, the guy that I thought was end game with Joan, gets sent home. What? You're like, what is happening? What did we miss? I thought they had a great one-on-one date. He got the first impression rose at the beginning of the season, which I know doesn't always like mean like it's gonna be a good connection throughout the entire show. But what did Keith do to get sent home? I am baffled. I am heartbroken. I am sad. Jonathan also got sent home, and she chooses to have a conversation with Jonathan before he left over Keith. And maybe they did have a conversation and they edited it out. I don't know, but and it makes me think, like my mom said, Joan just isn't going to choose anybody in the end. That she didn't want to waste Keith and Jonathan's time because she kept Pascal. No offense, Pascal, but you don't know how to do laundry. You don't cook. Joan, I feel like Joan isn't that type of woman who's gonna want to be with someone who doesn't know how to do laundry. He says he like pays for laundry service. He's got the money, but I feel like that's not Joan. I don't know. Ugh. Maybe she's just really focused on Chalk. She feels like Chalk and her are end game. And again, doesn't want to waste the other guy's times. I don't know. Ugh. I just don't know why Keith got sent home. Really. I don't understand it. I want to reach out to him and be like, are you okay? Do you need a hug? So we have our final four for Golden Bachelorette. It is Chalk, Guy, Pascal, and Jordan. Which Jordan maybe is like a sleeper on this? I don't know. Jordan has gotten some screen time. They did have a one-on-one date. It did go well. But Jordan hasn't been my front runner at all this whole time. Very, very sweet guy. 100%. I don't know. Next week our hometowns, so we'll see how it goes. Also, I would love, and I'm putting this out there into the universe, ABC Network, if you're listening, I have a show idea. It's like the Golden Bachelor meets F-Boy Island, but a sweet version of F-Boy Island, where there's three guys, three contestants. It's going to be Keith, Charles, and Gary. And then you bring a bunch of women on the show, and they try to find their match there. Feel free to take that idea. It's all yours. Anywho, that's my pop culture recap for the week. Let's get into our Bravo Celebrity breakdown. Also, I hope that didn't sound too like game showy or weird, but let's get into talking some shit about Bravo celebrities. All right, let's get into our Bravo celebrity news for the week. BravoCon is officially back next year. Somebody send me tickets, please. Woohoo! Manifesting being at BravoCon next year. All right, y'all. Let's manifest that shit together. It's back. It's returning back to Vegas. November 14th through the 16th. It was in Vegas last year. They took a year off. Coming back 2025. It's basically Comic-Con, but for all things Bravo, if you don't know. There's Bravo celebrities all around the place, panels, meet and greets, special Watch What Happens live tapings. They do all kinds of stuff. It's literally Bravo throwing up in your mouth in Vegas times 1,000. Bravo people everywhere. I love it. So in 2023, they did a bunch of different silly things. They did a replica of the Sir Alley from Vanderpump Rules, which I love. They did a Pat the Puss dance lesson from Erica Jane from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And they had a Sprinter van a la Real Housewives of Salt Lake City's Jen Shaw getting arrested by the FBI. Jen wasn't in the Sprinter van. She had a call and left because they said her husband was in the ER when really the FBI was looking for her. They found her and stopped her on the side of the road and arrested her, but the FBI did come to the Sprinter van where all the other housewives were. Oh, I hope there's a Sprinter van in 2025 because so many things happen on Sprinter vans with the Salt Lake City girlies. I love it. Anywho, BravoCon 2025, let's go. And in Vegas too, I mean, you can just be up for like 3 days partying your butt off with Bravo celebrities. That's what I want to see. I want to see them out in the wild. I want to see them gambling. I want to see them drinking yard margaritas. I want to see them just out and about. I would love that. The closest thing I've gotten to Bravo celebrities in Vegas was going to one of Lisa Vanderpump's restaurants. I think it was Vanderpump Paris. I went for my birthday with some friends. We were there for a girls fantasy football weekend. We said, hey, let's go draft in Vegas. This shit's gonna be fun. It happened to fall on my birthday weekend. Let's make it a birthday trip. Then we threw in a couple bachelorette parties for some other girlies who were getting married. It was a time. So a couple of us went to Vanderpump Paris in between like hanging out and dinner, and we got a drink there, and Garcelle's son Oliver was bartending. So that is the closest I have gotten to Bravo celebrities in the wild in Vegas. So manifesting to be there next year, y'all. Oh gosh, I have some podcast competition now. Just kidding. Like, they're gonna get so many more followers. But Crystal Minkoff from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Cynthia Bailey from Real Housewives of Atlanta are joining forces on a new podcast called Humble Brag. What a good name. Coming up with a podcast name is hard. I did some research and then I was trying to, I just looked on Spotify and Apple and all these places to see what podcast names were available, what people had used, hadn't used. There's so many podcasts out there that aren't even podcasts anymore, but I still feel like I couldn't use their names, because they had that name. Thankfully, nobody had Wonderful Garbage. Here we are. Yes, I'm making this about me. But Crystal was on the Beverly Hills Housewives for 3 seasons. Cynthia was on the Real Housewives of Atlanta for 11 seasons and has done guest appearances. She's like popped back in, and she's going to be on this upcoming season too, I believe, in a friend of role. They are joining Nick Viall's media company, NV Media, and it'll be launching January 2025. So congratulations to Cynthia and Crystal. That's super cool. Welcome to the podcast world. Also, Nick, if you want to hire somebody else, I'm so available. Oh, our girl Katie Maloney is getting some dick, y'all. Sorry, Mom, but I didn't say the F word. So Katie Maloney is from Vanderpump Rules, the co-owner of Something About Her, and the co-host of the Disrespectfully podcast. Also podcast competition, JK. They have way more listeners. One day, we're manifesting it, y'all. Katie said on her podcast this week that she is in a new relationship. She says, I have a boyfriend and I am in love. She says he is the most wonderful person she's ever met, makes her feel really special and happy. Literally, the bar is so low, though, for Katie because her ex-husband was literal trash. Sorry, Tom Schwartz, but you're a 40-year-old man-child who never stood up for your wife, never respected her, never really, cared for her like a husband should, so good for Katie. Katie did not say his name on the podcast, but it has come out now because the internet is the internet. He is a musician. He is the singer of Sleeping with Sirens, which if they were around back in the day, I'm sure I saw them at Warped Tour. I just don't remember. Also, the podcast episode came out on her ex-husband's birthday, and so people were like, oh, we stan Katie. She let the shit out on her ex-husband's birthday. I was like, I think it's just a coincidence. It is funny. I don't think she's being petty. And if she was, good for her, because again, her ex-husband treated her like trash. They were together for 6 years though, but they got divorced they split back in 2022. So we are happy for Katie. So happy that she is in a better relationship because we all deserve that. If you want to be in a relationship, you should be with somebody who treats you wonderfully. So good for her. I hope she's getting some dick. Okay. So Jen Aiden from the Real Housewives of New Jersey did an Instagram live over the weekend saying that she was returning to the show. If you know, we have no idea who's going to be on next season because this last season was also literal trash. It's gone downhill the past couple of years. I'll admit, I still haven't watched it. I know when I started this podcast, I said I was going to. I think it's going to be something I do over Thanksgiving as a gift to myself. A taking a break, right? It's the holiday season. Doing things that are good for your soul. Nurturing you, right? And the best way to nurture, for me, is to watch grown women yell at each other on TV. So I will be watching the Jersey Housewives over Thanksgiving. 100%. Do it with me if you haven't watched it yet. We don't know who's going to be on the show. No idea. The cast is so divided, it's ridiculous. It's like it's literally your job, go do it. But in an article from Reality T on Bravo Daddy Andy's Sirius XM show, he clarified that that was a total lie. Jen is not coming back. There have been no decisions on who is coming back next season. So Andy's co-host John told him about the Instagram live. Andy said she's confirmed she's returning, question mark? No decisions have been made. He says, no, we've done nothing. We've done absolutely nothing. He says, well, actually, we've done plenty. So they are planning behind the scenes, right? They're thinking, collaborating, taking it to the drawing board, seeing who the audience and who would be best to bring back to the show. But he said, that's a no, not happening. Then he ended this by saying, I wish her well, which is one of my favorite Southern sayings. Andy was being a Southern woman in that statement. And thank you, Andy Cohen. I wish her well. That's what you say when someone's really pissed you off and you want them out of your face and out of your life. Well, we wish you well. Yeah, it's getting late. Don't want to keep you too long. Be safe on the drive home and never come back here. Anyways, Andy seems super annoyed, so we'll see what happens, but that might have been a bad move on Jen's part. Who knows? Maybe Jen was contacted by a producer who was on her side. She let it slip. She's not supposed to let it slip yet. Andy's trying to make sure no news comes out of it yet, so he squashed it. I don't know. I'm just still hung up on the I wish her well. I love it. That should have been the name of this podcast. Okay. More news from the New Jersey Housewife hub. So Dina Manzo, she used to be on the Real Housewives of New Jersey many, many moons ago. Her ex-husband has been sentenced to 7 years in prison, y'all. So in an article from Us Weekly, back in 2015, her ex-husband contacted someone with mob connections or alleged mob connections to scare his ex-wife's new partner. So yeah, basically like trying to hire somebody with mob connections to assault this guy. He allegedly was upset about his ex-wife's new relationship and wanted to, quote, leave a permanent facial scar, unquote, on this guy. Wild. So he just got sentenced this week to 7 years in prison. So prayers up, love and light to Dina. We hope you are doing good. She's married to that new guy, so lots of love there. But like not getting the mob involved. But I did say in my Salt Lake City recap for last week, it was brought up about Meredith bringing up rumors about Angie K. We just call her Angie now because the other one's gone. Angie being in the Greek mafia. And I did say it would be crazy if we had somebody active in a mafia mob type thing on the show. But then, like, remembering that this happened, probably best to stay away from that. Okay, we're going to end our Bravo breakdown with, like, the biggest thing going on in the Bravo universe this week. You know what it is. Tamra Judge has come out and said that she is on the spectrum. Yeah, so Tamra Judge is on the Real Housewives of Orange County, and on her podcast, Two Teas in a Pod, she shared that she found out that she is on the spectrum and is referring to the autism spectrum. She said she had a therapy session, that this was her first therapy session with this therapist. Later on does say that she has known this therapist for years, but this is her first official session, I am assuming from what I got from the things that she said. And learned that she is on the spectrum after talking about how she handles things emotionally, her outburst, things in her past, her upbringing. And that's why she reacts to situations the way she does. She says, I just thought that things were black and white to me. You know, I grew up with a family that didn't have a lot of empathy or love or whatever. So that just transpired into my adult life. But after talking and going through everything and my emotions, I have a hard time with empathy and feeling other people's feelings. ... And that's the reason why. Alluding to being on the spectrum is why she has a hard time understanding other people's feelings. So, if you're not watching The Real Housewives of Orange County this season, Tamra has been on a witch hunt with one of her ex-best friends, Shannon. She is treating Shannon like literal garbage. She is popping off at people left and right. Couple martinis deep and explodes fire on them. You know, she has just really, really shown a side. And she was on the show a long, long time ago, was gone for a couple years, now is back. And even back then, she did some stuff to some of her castmates that was just really, really rough. A lot of people say she makes for great TV, but at what cost, right? You can make great TV and you can be a bitch and you can call people out for stuff. But when it gets to like an extreme that it's getting to now, it's just getting really evil and mean. So, Tamra put this out on a podcast. All hell broke loose on the internet. All these Bravo accounts, all these people coming out and just being like, what is happening? Fans have come out. Therapists have come out. Therapists who like handle these types of situations. Doctors have even come out. People who have firsthand experience with autism are coming out and they're like, look, there's just a lot more that goes into an official diagnosis than having one therapy session. Yes, your therapist could have said, some of the things that you were talking about could allude to blank, blank, blank. This could be autism. This could be some sort of neurological disorder, right? And then maybe she took that like as literal and then put it out there. She said she learned about it 15 minutes before she went on the podcast. She hadn't even told her husband. Girl is out there putting it out on a podcast before telling her husband what she just heard from her therapist. To each their own. I would not have done that. She got so much backlash, so much from this. She posted something else on Instagram and on Twitter. She said, in my conversations with my therapist, who I've known for years, again, she said it was her first therapy appointment with this therapist, but could have known them for a while. We talked a lot. We talked about a lot over the course of 2 hours, and she told me that many of the things about me, like how I process information, my sensory issues, my social anxiety, my aversion to eye contact with new people, my not wanting to be out of my routine, etc., were all signs of being on the spectrum. And I'm like, you've literally yelled at people, looking directly in their eyes, in their face, especially new people on the show. So, I don't know. Tamara then acknowledged that on the spectrum is such a broad term. I don't really understand it fully, and my therapist told me more evaluation was needed. She continued to say, but when I sat down at the mic to record my podcast, 15 minutes later, my head was spinning from what she had just said. I had no time to process things or even talk to my family. I was just back at work. And I was so emotional, I just blurted it out. Maybe don't have your therapy session 15 minutes before you're going to record your podcast. That sounds crazy. Also, if she does have something neurological going on, I hope she finds support for it. If she's doing this as an excuse for how she's acting on the show and how it's coming out, because she is getting a lot of people talking about her this season. So, if she is doing it because of that, it is 100% irresponsible and absolutely disgusting, and she should not come back next season. I'm a former teacher. I've worked with students who are neurodivergent, who were on the spectrum. Their families have gone through so much. The way that these families have to advocate for their kid because the lack of supports that we have in public education, the way that they have so many doctor's appointments and therapies and the money that it costs and the mental and emotional strain that it puts on these families. Like, this is not something you say lightly. This is not something you put out there without really understanding what it is, So that's just really frustrating because you can't be careless with things like that. That's just not something you do. So I was going to end my Bravo breakdown here, but I thought, what a sad thing to end on. So we're going to end with something good, y'all. Before I recorded this, I found this out. Rachel, or Raquel, from Vanderpump Rules, who had an affair with her best friend's boyfriend for 9 months right behind her back and like literally under her nose. Yeah, her, the gem of a human being. She's ending her podcast that she has. Yay! Congratulations! Woohoo! She had a podcast called Rachel Goes Rogue. She had it to explain her side of the affair that she had, again, with her best friend's boyfriend for 9 months. And they hung out together and they were sleeping together. And it was some true fuckery. Yeah, I have to use the F word there because that's literally what it was. True fuckery. But Rachel's canceling her podcast. She's done with it. Vanderpump Rules isn't filming. She has nothing else to talk about. Nobody cares. So she's done. Happy, happy news on this happy, happy day. Alrighty, y'all. Well, that is all the garbage talk for now for this week. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If this is your first time listening, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you've been here since the beginning, we're like 2.5 months in. Yay! Thank you for continuing to listen. And if you're somewhere in the middle, I appreciate you too. Please like, comment, follow, subscribe, do all of the things for me, please. Steal your friend's phone and subscribe to the podcast for them. I'm kidding, don't steal. borrow their phone, your partner's phone, your dad, your mom, anybody. Get me those subscription numbers, y'all. I do this pop culture recap and Bravo Celebrity Breakdown every Friday. Bravo TV recaps will be out Sunday. I still have not watched Potomac. Don't hate me. I am going to. I wanted to this weekend. We have a wedding to go to, so that's going to take a lot of my time. But I'm going to do my best to catch up on Potomac because I heard it's good and I need to see it. I heard the newbies are doing really well. Follow Wonderful Garbage on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Thank you so much for listening again. Like I said, I really appreciate it. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I hope this helped you get through your work day, or if you're working out, go you. If you're doing chores, if you're being a vegetable and laying horizontal, go you. Whatever you're doing, I hope this podcast was fun for you. All right, y'all. Until next time.